Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our monthly professional development webinar series. I'm excited to see so many people jumping on this morning to learn about Achievement Days and County Fair exhibits. And today we're excited to have Jackie and Rachel from McHenry County to talk about their Achievement Days, how they manage their exhibits in a smaller county. And also we want to learn from a larger county. So we have our expert in Cass County, Lisa. She's going to talk about how they manage the Red River Valley Fair and how they have all their exhibits coming in and out. And manage all that. And just a little commercial for what's upcoming for December. We won't meet in November because it's jam-packed with volunteer trainings and lots of other things and Thanksgiving thrown in there. But in December, you can look forward to learning about our new vaping curriculum that we have developed for middle school youth. And this has kind of been in the works before COVID, and then we had to put it on hold. And then we were glad that Acacia Stuckel and Holly Tui actually piloted it in some schools for us. So now we're ready to roll it out to the counties. And so it's a lesson that you could take into the schools or give to your volunteers to do for those middle school age youth. And then upcoming in January or February, we're going to have TJ from up in Ward County. He's going to do some new entomology lessons that he's developed. And so we're looking at doing a new entomology trunk as well. So kind of revamp lessons on the entomology topic and project area. So those are some things to look forward to. So before now we'll get going, and I'm just going to turn it over to Jackie and Rachel and Lisa.
Hi, everybody. So Jackie and I are in Ward County, I'm sorry, not Ward County. We just talked about Ward County, McHenry County. We're right next door. And we do an achievement days for our static exhibits, for our horse show, for our livestock show. So it ends up being 3 days. The end of June is when we usually do that. And as we start going into that, you know, it starts right now with the kids signing up for 4-H and getting some of their projects enrolled in projects on their 4-H online program. But that deadline for adding projects for us ends up being March 31st. So that's kind of the start of our achievement days, is making sure that all those project enrollments are done by March 31st. And there's a lot of stuff we send out to remind them to get that done before that date. And this date has been the date for us for 15 years, more than that. And then once that's done, we start prepping for our achievement days, and we send out packets with all the materials for registration. And that will be due then the first week of June. So that ends up being about 3 weeks prior to our achievement days. So once they're signed up or enrolled in a project, they then have to register that project for our achievement days through the fair entry website. And then once they're done with that, those are the projects that they can bring to our achievement days. There are no additions after that June deadline is hit. This year, I think it was June 7th was our deadline. And by that time, we normally have between 100 and 115 youth signed up to bring static exhibits, and anywhere from 500 to 700 static exhibits registered. And by the end of it, yes, we do end up with a couple of no-shows. So 10 to 25 no-shows for static exhibits. Go ahead and hit. Go.
So our members are allowed to only enter 2 projects per project area. And if you see on the example of aerospace, so there's only 1 class in aerospace, so they're allowed to enter 2 under the same class number for their age. And if they are in, can I go to the next one? Where's that?
All you have to do is hit this button. Yep.
And then if they're going to be in foods and nutrition, they can also go to baking then and enter 2, but they cannot enter 2 7111s. It has to be a different number. Same with as in other breads or brownies and cookies. And then our Cloverbuds are able to bring 3 exhibits and in any category. They just bring whatever they've made throughout the year.
And then once all of our enrollments are on file, so they've enrolled in that project area and they've got their project set up to send to our achievement days, Once that's all done, we do a registration summary for each kid. It's what we call our blue sheet. So each kid has a list of things that they've signed up for. And we print out all their exhibit tags, and all of those are sent to each family. So once they do that, they have them, they get their tags put on their projects, then they bring them to achievement days. Once they get to achievement days, when they do check in, those members let us know if they did or didn't bring anything. And if they didn't bring it, it gets crossed off their blue sheet, and then we take it, if we have time, and cross it off the judge's book. Once the member is then done, they've taken that blue sheet to every judge and judge's assistant, and the assistant puts their placing on that blue sheet, and that blue sheet is turned into us. That way we know if the judge comes to us and says, you know, I have a couple of kids that didn't bring projects to me, we can look through their blue sheet and cross them off and say, yep, they didn't bring it today.
And our reasons for limiting the amount of projects that are brought in are because we raise all of our money we send the letters out to sponsors to donate money for our achievement days. So all of our premiums are paid through our sponsors.
It says we do not have a premium sale, so that's the reason.
And then we have requirements for completing the year, which is to attend 6 meetings. They must participate in a county event, and they must exhibit 1 project, static exhibit, actually, in our achievement days. They can't just show livestock. They have to exhibit 1 static exhibit. And we also have an absentee judging form that if they're not going to be available, they can put that with their project and it is judged. They are just not eligible for grand and reserve placings.
And the next slide actually goes to Cass County then. Lisa, did you want to share it, or do you want us to go through it and you can tell us when to move on?
I'm gonna pull it up on mine because at one point I am going to show something off screen, I guess.
We will stop sharing then.
And while Lisa is pulling that up, I had a couple of questions come in for Jackie and Rachel. So the question was, do you have any pushback from parents about the deadline on the additions after the set date that you have already set? Any pushback on that June date, I guess?
No, we haven't had any pushback. You know, every now and then we do have a parent that says, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. And yeah, if it's 1 or 2 days after the deadline, no problem, we'll get you in. It's not a big deal. We don't advertise it. But if a parent calls me the day before achievement days, you know, at that point, we're getting ready for achievement days. We have a lot of stuff on our plate. We're doing a lot of things. So, you know, we're real sorry, but you're way past the deadline then. And every now and then we do have to say no, which is not fun, but it is something that has then reinforced these people for when they come back. They know that that deadline is a deadline and they will hold it. Even for our new families, we do have, you know, we're our smaller community, and we do rely on our leaders quite often. So we do, you know, we might have a name come in and we see that they didn't get both their kids signed up for achievement days. So we'll call out to that leader and say, you know, was this something that wasn't supposed to happen, or was it supposed to happen? And they'll reach out to that 4-H mom and say, you know, is this right? Do we need to fix it? What do we need to do?
Okay. Next question I see for y'all is, what is included in the packet that you send out to families? Can you go through that one more time?
We have a achievement day book that we make up. It has a letter, it has a list of rules in it. It has calendar of events of what's going on at what time. We also send the state fair book in there. We send the absentee ballot just in case they're not going to be available.
Just that listing and on
That
all of
listing
their,
and then all of their projects that they're enrolled in so that they can go in and go online and start entering their projects.
All right, the next question I see is, do you have a set budget for premiums each year?
We have a set amount we pay for all ribbons placings, but as far as a dollar amount, we really don't, but it usually balances out to be anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000, and that's the amount of sponsors we get in. So, you know,
We've been just working within that
Yeah.
budget range.
Okay, another question related to premiums is, can one of y'all explain what premiums is for us?
Oh, yeah. So I don't I don't know where to start. How much do they know? So premiums are money that's given for every ribbon placing that these kids get. So whether they get a white, a red, a blue, and then if they make that blue and get a grand or reserve, there's a dollar amount. There's a dollar amount kind of attached to each ribbon. So for those ribbons, every time a kid shows something or presents something with statics, there's a dollar amount attached to that ribbon that they will get because of the project they've done and how well they've done with it. So it doesn't matter if they get a white, they still get there's some money attached to that. And that's the premium. And the premium is something, I don't know how everybody else explains it, but a premium is something that you can give to that child to help them get into that project further, or help them maybe improve it for next year, or if they're going on to state fair and they want to get it better, then, if the judge maybe suggested something to change or to make better before sending it on to state fair, they can get that done with some of the premium money that they receive.
Does that help, Rebecca?
Kind of. I think I'm going to make Lynette explain it even further to me later.
Or Lynette, do you want to add something to it for other people too that might not know?
What our county does is we send out the premium ribbon money to the clubs, and then the clubs write it out to the individual kids.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that's how we do it too.
Okay, and I see in Walsh County, blues receive $3, reds $2, and whites $1. Our livestock exhibitors enter a premium sale where they bring their animal through and people place bids as extra money to the child. Yeah, and Katie just got done with her fair.
See, I'm very familiar with premium livestock sales. That I understand. That I'm good with. It's the premium money going to the static projects that I'm still trying to figure out what that actually is.
Okay. Anybody else want to share about premium money?
Again, hey, this is Carla. And just a side note too, I don't know how many of you know this or not, but in the century code for county fairs, any county that receives funding from their local county commissioners, and you probably all know this, and I'm just repeating it, but in that, the money that is set aside for county fairs within a county, there's only two places that can really go. And one of them is improvements for the county fair, and the other one is premium dollars. So if you have questions about premium dollars, and if you're not receiving premium dollars from your county fair, I guess I would do a little exploring and maybe partner with your local fair boards, because that money, again, is set aside, and according to North Dakota Century Code, can only be used two ways. And again, that's fair improvements, like building improvements and things, and also premium dollars. So just a side note, if anyone is looking to have some additional funds, it might be a reach out to your local county fair board.
Carla, do you know, because we don't have a fair, we don't receive any money from our county then?
Okay.
Because I don't think they get any.
Okay.
We don't have a fair at all.
Okay. if you don't have a fair at all, and you could go in and you could certainly, with your achievement days, and I guess I would suggest this, if you don't have a county fair specifically in your county, go in and visit with your county auditor, and there's a chance that they might be able to put $500,000 towards some county premium dollars. It's a chance, and it's a conversation to have, but that would be a way that you would be able to call then McHenry County 4-H Achievement Days, the McHenry County Fair, youth fair, you could call it the youth fair. And if you put it together and present it to your auditor, there's a chance, and I'm not saying for sure, but there's a chance that there could be some funding there, even if it's, $1,000-$2,000, it definitely helps. So we have that in Morton County. Our county fair board sets aside premium dollars for our FFA, our open class premiums, and our 4-H. And so we get some additional premium dollars from there. And then we do like what you do in McHenry County is actually ask for a lot of donations from our community to help with, so the kids are getting more than $1.
And I'll jump in if I may here. There for many years, a long history, there was a small amount of assistance given by the state. It was $500 for achievement days or fairs for youth premiums. However, at the last legislature, I guess that was taken out of the permanent appropriations, and as Dr. Flage said, they didn't really even tell us much about that. It just kind of disappeared and so forth. So that used to be a source, or at least the seed money to start for some premiums, but that no longer exists.
Thank you, Dean and Carla, for that good discussion. I really appreciate y'all sharing that information. So I see some other good comments in the chat box too about premiums and sponsorships too. And so I can capture that and send that out as well. So is there any more questions right now for the small county achievement days for Jackie and Rachel? If not, we'll move on to Lisa. And Jeff, Gail, I see you want to know about bringing in static exhibits so you don't have 100 4-Hers coming at the same time. I'm going to think that Lisa is going to address that for you too, and she talks about.
Before you go on, Megan, Rachel and Jackie, I don't know the ownership of your building there, but one of the things that we do for like our premium dollars or ribbon payout is to rent out the facility over winter, like from storage of boat rental or camper rental, but that actually covers almost all of our expenses. So I don't know if that's an option in your county or not.
We don't own a building that is actually owned by the city of Towner, and they are grateful enough to rent it to us for free for our achievement days, and then we use the school gymnasium here in Towner for our static exhibits. So we depend greatly upon the kindness of the people in our community to allow us to utilize those buildings.
Great question. Thanks for adding that in, Rick. Any more comments about this topic so far? Okay, keep your questions coming in the chat box and I will watch that. And Lisa, you want to talk about Cass County and large counties?
Sure, I can. Can everybody see my slideshow for Cass County? Is that a yes?
You're good.
Oh, okay. I'm working on one screen instead of my normal 2 screens. So at Cass County, the Achievement Days takes place during the Red River Valley Fair in July. McHenry, they actually just have their own no fair. And this includes static, a horse show, livestock show, and then the livestock premium sale. I don't know if some fairs, I don't know if it's more of a if there's anyone in North Dakota or if it's more of other states, but I think there are states that sell or they put their static exhibits up for sale. We tried that as kind of like a silent auction thing, and it didn't. First year it was really good, and then the next 2 years it didn't go very well. Our project enrollment date, deadline date aligns with the state as of May 1st. And then our exhibit registration usually is from June 1st until about the mid-June. And it usually gives me as support staff 2 or 3 weeks time to run reports, exhibit tags, do whatever is needed. However, we kind of have an unspoken rule in the office that if I put it on a Wednesday as closing, I am typically asked to extend the deadline. It's kind of a trick we use to make people register more exhibits so that they feel like, oh man, wow, we're lucky to be able to register more because I came up with more and I thought I had missed a deadline. And we always get quite a few more registrations after we, talk about extending the deadline. And then typically I do have a habit of even leaving registration open a couple days after that. Again, not advertising it, because I do have families that they are just known for not getting in on time. And then if I leave it over the weekend, sometimes they go in on that weekend and they'll register exhibits. And then that way it saves me answering a email and reopening things up and whatnot. I know Rachel talked about having a strict deadline. We have a deadline. We advertise that no new registrations will be taken that day. However, we are kind of lenient on it. We just don't advertise that we're lenient on it because we want our youth to have, a positive experience. And so that's kind of like our mantra here in Cass County. We usually have about 200 to 240 youth exhibiting static. I took these numbers over a series of 3 years. This year, the numbers were down, I think, because of the pandemic. We usually have, between 1,100 and 1,500 static exhibits registered. I know besides these last 2 years, looking back at our stats, it was always in the 1,500s. And then we have typically I put 77 to 102 no-shows. And I'll go in on how we try to curb some of those no-shows here in a moment. Oh, apparently, there we go. Our horse show usually consists of 30 to 40 youth exhibitors, 300 to 350 class registrations. The livestock show is 60 to 70 youth exhibitors. And we have class registrations of 325 to 360. It's kind of the stats I came up with. McHenry County, they talked about sending out a packet. And as Rachel was talking about that, I kind of thought about it. We don't send out a packet per se, but we do create our own fair book. We use the guidelines and the changes from the state fair book. So when Dean sends out the rough draft of the state fair book with all the changes in red, as support staff, I go through that and I make any changes. Most of our class numbers all line up with what's at the state fair. But this also, by us creating this, it includes our Cass County rules, our schedules. It also includes any county only contests we offer and whatnot. And then I put on here an example schedule. So one thing that we do having so many clubs is we don't want everybody to come in at 9 o'clock and the lines to be super long to when they're doing their static judging. So we try to rotate every year, and this, we'll have a group of clubs come in at 9, 11, and 2. I do have families that call in and they will ask, hey, I can't make the 11 o'clock time because I have to work. Can I come, later? And we usually allow them. 1 or 2 families here or there are not going to hurt anything, but it helps curb the long lines some of the time. I was going to touch base what we do for Cloverbuds. Cloverbuds, we do allow them to exhibit 9 exhibits. This is straight from our fair book, but they can only do 1 per class. And so we have all these individual class numbers. 5 of them or 6 of them are just anything random. And like I was telling Megan, Rachel, and Jackie yesterday, we've had Cloverbud exhibit dead grass, and And so it could be anything. And then the last 4 classes are a little bit more specialized, just to kind of add something. Our goal is to fill our building. So, this allows them to bring many items and really partake in the day. Most of our static exhibits, we do allow the youth to register up to 4 exhibits in each static area unless otherwise noted. So this is again directly from our fair book. And so under the entomology, they can enter up 4 exhibits in this project area. Under creative arts, since there are so many different interest area, they can enter 4 exhibits in each interest area. And again, we do this so that we can fill our building. They are still only allowed to bring 2 blue ribbons to the state. But we want to fill our building. We want to make it full. We want to make it, attractive to look at, in the public, to draw them in. We do use the project requirement utilization in fair entry. Excuse me. I know some counties don't like to do that. We do have that set up. And I'm kind of a believer in it. The reason being is because when I have especially newer families that they're trying to register their birdhouse in fair entry and it won't let them, it forces them to call our office, and then we can explain what the difference is with a project and what versus an exhibit, and why back in May when we were talking about enrolling a project, why that was important. And I would rather have families give us questions instead of remaining in the dark. And typically when they call our office, I can go through that spiel of those, help them out. I end up adding the project in, even though it's after May 1st. I get their fair exhibit registered. I have no problem adding those in, but it forces those parents that normally don't reach out to reach out. So our typical static judging day, a youth will stop at the registration desk. We sell discounted wristbands for the fair. We also give them a list of the registered exhibits and a list of where they can find their judging tables for the appropriate classes. They take their exhibit to be judged to the appropriate judging table. We have an assistant with each judge, and all of the cards are at the judging table for that judge. So we don't mail them out. We had toyed with it this last year, but we ended up getting enough help that we could have judging assistants. They attach the exhibit card. The judge speaks with the youth and gives out the ribbon directly. And then the youth will be asked if they'd like to go to state fair, if it's a blue ribbon. And the assistant will then bring it. We also have a computer volunteer. And the computer volunteer enters the results and whether the exhibit is going to state fair. And so I know that some counties, they can't get enough volunteers for this. So that is one thing about the bigger counties were able to have volunteers. And I was going to show you this. Okay, does everybody see me on their camera, my face? So
we still see you're still screen sharing right now. Do you want to stop screen sharing?
How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So I have made these these cards, and let's see here. They have the barcodes. I try to, so when our volunteers see blue, they know that this is a blue ribbon and they can scan that. And these here, I just keep every year. They're laminated. I've tested them. The lamination works. They're still scannable. And then we have on this, I have, well, it's probably not going to show very well, but I have 2 numbers here. I have class placings 9 and 10 for going to state fair and not going to state fair, because we don't have anything in our fair that places that high. You know, we do maybe place 1, 2, and 3, but 9 and 10, we have them scan 9 if they're going to state fair and 10 if they're not. So then I can create, as support staff, I create reports in Excel and I pull up everyone that's not going to state fair by the number 10th placing, and our volunteers and our agents, they can sort exhibits when it's time to come to the state fair. And if anybody has more questions on that, I would definitely share more information on that. I have no problem. So I'm going to go back to the screen or the slideshow here quick. Our no-show process. So back before I started here, apparently we would have like 600 no-show exhibits. And so the agent at the time had to come up with a way to curb that. I've heard there's other counties that may have had issues where you hire judges to come in and then 600 exhibits are no-show, and then you've wasted that money, whether you're paying them the time and the resources. So all the exhibit cards, since they're located at the judging tables, any cards that are left are considered no-shows. And then we do have another class placing that we scan at the end of the day for a barcode or for recording purposes that show no-show. We like to have every entry have some kind of or every registered exhibit to have an entry in a fair entry, because then it pulls up on reports. And so the ones that are no-shows, we use a barcode. I know that there's a process where you can do like a will show, or if they check in, and we haven't been able to have a chance to look into that. But anyway, we do have in our book, in our fair book, that if there is no shows, if a youth fails to bring more than 2 registered no shows, that we charge them a $5 fee. This year I only had 2 kids that I had to charge $5, and I know the one, she brings like 50 exhibits, so she was very well aware of this. We haven't had any pushback. If I have somebody that registers exhibits and they absolutely show nothing, I don't typically go after that $5 because I never see it. I'm pretty sure they just throw my bills in the mail or in the garbage. So it's only if they get a check that I do take that $5 out. I mark it on the sheet that I send with their premium check, and I've never had any. In the 6 years that I've been here, I don't think we've ever had anybody ever complain about it. So anyway, that's all I got for Cass County.
Thanks, Lisa. There's a few questions I was going to
Sure.
look at here. So I saw one about paying the judges, and Rita said that y'all $75 the judges, the council provides meals, snacks, beverages, and thank you gift. The judges work from 8:30 to 5. So anything you want to add to that, or?
Nope, that's correct.
And then what about Jackie and Rachel?
Our judges are all volunteers, and so are our table recorders. All of them are volunteers. They get a meal at the end of the day, and we have no problems keeping them there. They start at 4 and they're usually done by 9.
Okay.
Oh, and we do give them a $10 gift card.
Okay.
So we do that, but
And Sarah Crimmins want to know about Achievement Day rule books, where all your guidelines are. Do you create guidelines yourself, or does your 4-H council? And this is for both Jackie and Rachel and Lisa.
I know like our fair book, a lot of like some of the guidelines, like poster size, come directly from the state fair book. And then we do have a fair committee that does some of the other guidelines. And, you know, they vote on them and whatnot. I'm a lot of times with the fair book, it's just edited from one year to another. So there's probably some that I don't know where they came from. It's just kind of been ongoing. But if something wants to be changed on the guidelines on that is at a county level more than anything, it's voted on or talked about with the fair committee.
And I did answer and I said, yes, we have all rules and guidelines in our Achievement Day book that is sent out of our office, and it's our office and the 4-H Council that create these guidelines.
Any more questions on that, Sarah? Does that clear that up a little bit?
I know with a lot of the, if you guys are seeing a lot of pushback, this is where you want to involve your 4-H council as much as possible, because they are the ones that are either helping making the rules or tweaking the rules or coming up with the rules. And when you have that, there's a lot less pushback from your parents.
Did a couple
Megan,
more.
Megan, can I ask Lisa a question?
Sure, go
So-
ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Lisa, when you have 4 in each project area, so does that mean like, does that encompass all of creative arts, or like 4 in fiber arts, 4 in flower arranging, 4 in each one? Does that, or that just encompasses all of creative arts?
So the creative arts, it does state 4 per interest area. So they could bring 4 drawings, they could bring 4 scrapbooks, and they could bring 4 flower arrangements. Some of the other classes like entomology, which I had as an example, they would only be able to bring 4 in entomology, what class it was. So some of the larger areas like fiber arts and creative arts where there's many interests, we allow 4 per interest.
I see some other comments on here. They pay mileage to judges along with a $10 gift card. Give them a gift. Okay, what are good ideas for having 4-H council? It seems like very few come and participate. What are some ways y'all get your people to come participate is the question. How do you rally them to come and
Cass County does offer supper. And we do once a year, we will, I believe it's the August council meeting, hand out a small gift to our volunteers.
Do you take that out of the county or do you take that out of the council, like your 4-H money though? I just cannot seem to, I have the same 2 or 3 people that come all the time, and I really would like to make my council better and bigger, if that makes sense. And I'm just trying to figure out how the heck to do that.
There are instances where we've had them come in for a meeting, but then had them stay for like a little bit of a training, just to have something to do with their kids during like the January, February meetings where they're kind of like, I don't really know what to do. So this week, actually, we have our October Leaders Council meeting. We'll be doing the breakout boxes with them so that they can utilize it for their January meeting.
You know, in Cass County, we have 2 meetings a year. We have our August meeting, which is the new meeting for the new year, and a January meeting. And they know they receive a lot of the information they need for the year. And so we usually have all our clubs, at least 1 leader from each club participate. We don't really have that big a problem. So, but we always have an educational something to entice them. And this year, you know, we did the whole tax financial update with them in August, and we just told them it was very important that they hear that. And so we do training, we do supper, we do gifts. You asked who pays for that. That comes out of council money. for their meal and their gifts. And then our executive council, we actually have our leaders, and we have a strong youth presence on our council as well. So it's not just adults. And our clubs are divided into districts. So we have 4 districts, and from each district, we ask for representation on our executive board for 4 people per district, or 8. I can't remember what is it, Lisa, 4 or 8? But anyway, so they know that this is their it's 8. This is their program, and they make the decisions, and I think that's been instilled to them for the last 25 years. So they really want to have buy-in and say in their program, and that just doesn't happen overnight. That's been a tradition here for years, and so I think that's part of it. It's just that they know it's their program and they make the decisions, and the youth are just involved as the adults in making the decisions.
Thanks, Rita. I just want to jump in a little bit too there, because this is kind of a passion of mine personally. And so I wanted to share for a minute. Most of y'all know that I was an Extension County agent for about 9 years in Mississippi. And actually my advisory 4-H council was probably like one of my most favorite things to do and have, but I'll admit that was the most scary thing I ever did, to reach out to my community and find those people to be a part of my council, because I was trying to reach out and get people that were like unlike me so we could reach, the most youth in our county. So it was scary. I'll admit that first, as a 24-year-old trying to figure out these people in the county and to come to these meetings, how was I going to do it? But I just can't emphasize enough the, personal touch. Call those people. It's easy to ignore an email, hit delete. It's easy to throw a letter in the trash can. Yeah, it takes a lot of time, but I feel like it's what made it really successful for me. Like, we had meetings, like Rita was saying, twice a year. So we met 4 times a year. It was a set month. And we always had it over the noon hour, because then they could plan that as their lunch time and they could come. And also it was only set to 1 hour. So sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I'm committing to like a 4-hour meeting or a 3-hour meeting. I don't know what's going to end. So it was always an hour long, and I always fed them. And then I usually made lasagna because they love that. And so I took time to cook and bring them food. And Sandy, you asked about where that money came from, and it did come out of our 4-H budget. And so I was lucky enough to have our county commissioners support our 4-H program. Then we also got donations, so that was possible, but it didn't really cost a whole lot of money. But I just think personal touch will really get those people there, and to show them that, you really want them to come and they have an input, and also give them a task. And so I know that I gave my people a task. They weren't just come to like check off a box or just, say, agree with what I said. I met with our treasurer. She did all the money, money stuff, did checks, and that was her, thing. And then also I met with our president before the meeting and really empowered her to really run the meeting. So I wasn't me running the meetings at all. And then Sandy, you said, or Rita mentioned the youth voice. And so I can't emphasize that enough, to have a youth voice there too, and have one of your young people to come and speak from that point of view. And so I think my best advice is take that extra time. Yeah, it's, time to take those phone calls, but like, I think that's what got my people there. So I just want to jump in and say that, because that was one of the most favorite things I did, but yet the most scary thing I started out doing.
Right. And I have been doing that, like you were talking about a meal. I always know you can get anybody to go anywhere if you got food. And so like one day I bought pizza. I didn't take it out of the council. I did it for myself, like from my own. And I don't care about doing that and everything. And then Brendan did it one day and stuff, but it's trying, and the personal touch I agree with too on that. It's just trying to keep them hooked. And it's like, yeah, we'll come. And they come a couple of times and then they're out. So we're trying to restructure it, I guess. And that was what I was like, okay, how do I keep this? And I do like the fact that I want a youth council too. Like that's big to me, because they can make some of the, they to me will make better decisions than than we will sometimes, when it comes to their affair,
Does anybody on here use a rotation schedule, like 3 years, on, and then so people rotate on and off, so they're not committed for here on out? That kind of worked for me too. Rita, do y'all use a rotation schedule?
We do. It's 2 years. And then within the district, we rotate 2 off every, or 4 off every year. So we have a consistent board that's half there and half new, and they rotate through. So it's a 2-year commitment. And in our offices of our 4-H council are all youth. Our president, our vice president, our secretary, they are all youth positions. And so, again, we really try, it comes with its challenges, youth are busy. But we really make sure that the youth are involved in this. And we have youth sitting on our fair board as well.
All right, I would like all our discussion, so I appreciate that. This might be another topic, 4-H councils could be another topic maybe for one of these in the future. So I'm going to write that down. So I loved all our chat today about achievement days, premiums, fairs, everything, exhibits. So anybody else have any comments or questions for our experts, Lisa and Jackie and Rachel, before we sign off for today? Anything else? And if you think of anything, you can definitely email them, and I'll capture these notes about premiums that some of y'all were so graciously shared and put them in the email when I send it out about premiums.
Megan, I was gonna mention, just to throw another kink in there to make the whole premium thing even more confusing for anyone that doesn't understand it, is that you can have straight premiums, or what is it called, points? So I think with McHenry County, I'm guessing they do points because they have a set amount of sponsorships that they get, and that can vary from year to year. With Cass County, we have straight premiums, so every year it's $350 that our youth are getting for their blue ribbons, because that's what the Red River Valley Fair has agreed to pay, and they end up like Carla had mentioned, they get money from our county commissioners to pay those, but we get it from them. And so, it can vary from year to year how much our youth earn, but our fairgrounds is willing to pay whatever. And so that's something to take into consideration too when figuring out premiums or learning about premiums, is that some counties do straight premiums, some counties do by points. So that's something to look into, and I know it makes it more confusing for somebody who doesn't understand it, but something to talk about.
And I'll just add to that from what Lisa said. So in fair entry, when you select and set yours up, when you set your budget, you can choose a limited or an unlimited budget. And of course, the limited budget is if you had $2,000 to spend on all your premiums, that would be a limited budget. If you had an unlimited budget, it means that you might end up with $1,800, it might end up with $2,500, but you have the funds to cover it. So the way, whether you use points or straight numbers, all depends on how you set that up in fair entry as well.
All right, well, thank you ladies for joining us and sharing your information, and everybody else for joining on today. This was great participation, so I'm glad that we did this. I definitely see it was definitely needed. So I hope it gave you some insight how to start planning your achievement days or getting your exhibits in line for next year, so we can be successful and have an effective and productive program for next year as well for exhibits. And just for y'all that signed on a little bit late, look forward to December on vaping curriculum. That's a new curriculum that I created with a couple of my graduate students. And then in January, February, TJ up in Ward County is going to talk about his new entomology curriculum that he has out, and possibly a new trunk. So we can look forward to that coming out. So don't forget about volunteer leader trainings coming up in November that Rochelle has scheduled. And then we have our monthly newsletter chat this coming Thursday with Dean, and he sent that out yesterday. So we'll stop recording. Thanks everybody for joining us.